Joining us now is former ambassador to the UN, John Bolton. He also served as national security advisor to President Trump during his first term. Ambassador, great to have you on. What did you make of this Truth Social post from President Trump that Iran has just informed us that they are in a state of collapse?
Well, I don't know who he heard that from. I rather doubt it comes from anybody in authority in Iran. But I think the damage caused by the air war for 6 weeks and the effect of the blockade are substantial. That, to me, is a further sign that the regime is susceptible of being overthrown, and this is the moment to do it. This is not the moment to release pressure on the regime. I do think the real question now is whether the U.S. should use military force to open the Strait of Hormuz for the Gulf Arab oil-producing states. I think we need to reestablish deterrence against Iran doing this in the future, because if we don't do it now, they'll turn the Strait of Hormuz on and off like a light switch. You've
been long a proponent and long argued that there must be regime change in order to remove the nuclear threat. How do we accomplish regime change without going in ourselves?
Because the people of Iran are overwhelmingly opposed to this regime. It's at its most unpopular point since it took power in 1979. Young people, people under 30 are 2/3 of the population. They know they could have a different way of life. The women are dissatisfied now over 3 years after the murder of Mahsa Amini, the young Kurdish woman who defied the dress code. And that's a real challenge to the legitimacy of the Ayatollahs themselves. The economy is a wreck. It was a wreck before the war, and despite those who say that the bombing doesn't seem to have had much effect, it has been a very substantial impact on institutions of state power like the Revolutionary Guard. I think the regime is disrupted at the top. What we should be doing is helping the opposition, providing them with resources, helping them get organized. I think the Israelis can do that. The Saudis could help out. I really think this regime, as demonstrated by its inability to come up with coherent negotiating positions, is really in disarray. This is the time to increase the pressure, not release it.
Yeah, you have made the point that if we leave this regime in charge, we can't trust them. And even if we somehow manage to get them to agree to give up yet again for the second time its enriched uranium, that they could go to North Korea and buy a nuclear weapon. As you put it, that an oil-rich country wants nuclear weapons and a desperately poor country has detonated 6 nuclear devices. It makes perfect sense that they might go to North Korea and said, we'll just pay you for one.
Look, the Iranians have a long history of working with North Korea on nuclear weapons matters, on ballistic missile matters. The North Koreans built a reactor for Iran in the Syrian desert that the Israelis destroyed in September of 2007. And one thing that people don't talk about is the plutonium route to nuclear weapons. There is the enriched uranium route, but plutonium, which is basically a man-made element you get from reprocessing the spent fuel of nuclear reactors. Henry Sokolsky, a non-proliferation expert, has estimated, based on what Russians have said about the spent fuel at the Bushehr reactor in Iran and IAEA calculations, that there's enough plutonium there for Iran to make 200 nuclear weapons. The real range is 200 to 500. Just take the lower end of that, 200 nuclear weapons. Nobody's talking about that. This regime is a fanatical, extremist regime. It hasn't moderated in 47 years, shows no sign of moderating. So unless you want to live with the economic threat represented by closing the strait, the terrorist threat, and the nuclear threat, the only alternative is regime change.
Ambassador John Bolton, thank you so much. Really appreciate your insight tonight.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.